Had to blow the whistle to tell y'all to get up out of here if you're not trying to hear a spoiler review, because that's exactly what this is gonna be. Point blank. Let's just get into it. I'm gonna start with the bad guys. Um, Technically, I guess if you look at it for what it's worth, there were only two bad guys, and if you want to, you could say four bad guys. Obviously, Ultron, Claw, and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Um, I'll say in terms of them, believe it or not, Scarlet Witch was probably the best villain in the movie. Even though Ultron was very menacing, he's about 10 feet tall. He kind of walks with his shoulders out. Like he was extremely menacing in his look. And he was also very witty and had a lot of jokes. Um, but sometimes some of the philosophy on why he felt that mankind needed to be destroyed, it was kind of scary to admit, but some of it made sense what he was saying in terms of how we just don't value the earth and things of that nature. But Scarlet Witch was probably the best villain because she had the most impact. She do her thing, and she got in the mind of the Hulk. So yes, indeed, there was a theory when you saw the Hulkbuster armor come out and Tony Stark versus Iron Man that maybe the Scarlet Witch got to him because his eyes were red. Yeah, that was her 100%. So she got to Black Meadow. She got to Hulk. She got to Thor, and she got to Captain America. That's like that's like half. That's like your whole team. Only person left is Hawkeye. She didn't bother him for whatever reason, but yeah, she really got into people's heads. Oh, and Iron Man, I forgot about him. She gave him probably the worst dream, where he just saw like a nightmare scenario of all the Avengers being dead and everybody on the planet being dead, and him being the cause of it. Um, so Scarlet Witch was very very powerful, and I could see how the Avengers could use her in movies going forward. Claw was pretty good. I mean, in terms of his look, he was real sweaty. Like he made it look like it was 197 degrees in Africa. He had this terrible haircut. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was awful. And he had even had the South African. I think they call that dialect Afrikaans. He kind of had that down pat, and he looked really good. And I almost wish that they could have stayed in Africa, gave us a little bit more Black Panther Easter eggs, but they didn't stay there that long. But he was definitely interesting enough that I could definitely see a Black Panther movie as him being the villain and get an hour and 45 minutes worth of screen time from him. And then yeah, Ultron. I think we already mentioned him. Like I said, overall, one of the biggest disappointments that people are having about Ultron is that he just wasn't as menacing as he seemed that he was gonna be in the trailers. And then when you look at his minions, his robots, like they were so disposable. I know that if you're trying to get the PG-13 audience, that you can't have a lot of violence, but I think in the future you're gonna have to see these armies do a little bit more damage to the Avengers for this to be believable. You know what I'm saying? Because it's almost like bowling. It's almost like they just set them up and they just roll the Captain America shield and knock him down. You roll Thor's hammer and knock him down. You know what I mean? They don't put up much of a fight, and the Shintiri in Avengers Part One was kind of that way too. So I think even though the action is good, I just don't think it can be as predictable in the future as one punch from Captain America and then the robot's head explodes. Um, we need some more damage. We need some more consequences, in my opinion. Okay, so that's it for the villains. Now let's get to our heroes. Okay, this guy was great in the movie. Okay, I'm lying. Matter of fact, that after credit scene where Spider-Man said, "Hey, guy, you missed a spot on the skyscrapers on the windows." Yeah, that was completely false. But even though Spider-Man wasn't in this movie, I can really see how excited everybody is about him joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe and having his own film because you could really see how he fits because Thor is pretty funny, Iron Man is pretty funny, but we know that outside of Deadpool, nobody is funnier and cracks uh, more wisecracks than Spider-Man. So we're looking forward to that. But Captain America, I mean, he had a thing at the very start of the movie where Tony Stark's cuss, and you know how they listen to each other on their headsets. I don't know what kind of Bluetooth that is that you can listen to each other while you shooting lasers and bow and arrows at robots. But you know, after Tony Stark cuss, Captain America says language, and then they like riding him and just making fun of him for the whole movie from the fact that he doesn't like to cuss. And there's a scene where David Banner seems real hesitant with Black Widow as she's flirting with him and stuff like that, and letting it known that she wants to, you know, be in a romantic relationship with him. And you know, almost like a big brother, like a real leader. Like you know, Captain America comes around and says, "Hey man, take it from me. I'm somebody who knows a little something about waiting too long to do something. You know, I waited 50, 75 years, however long he was frozen up. And he was basically telling Bruce Banner that you and Natasha Romanoff deserve each other, you know. And then he's also still the main person to challenge Iron Man, Tony Stark's, when he's doing something he doesn't think is cool, and nobody else has the balls. I mean, even Thor, even though Thor challenged, you know, Tony Stark's at one point, like it's like Tony doesn't take criticism seriously or constructively unless it comes from Captain America. And he is just the undisputed leader of the team. And even Tony Stark says so. Like, hey, I'm just a rich guy. I just make all you guys look good, but he's the boss. But Captain America is really evolving into that to the point that I think he might start to become people's favorite Avenger, even over Iron Man. And I think that he really has built some momentum for himself going into Captain America 3. Okay, um, let's get into this guy, Tony Stark, Iron Man. Um, just as funny as ever. Just real quick with the wisecracks. Even with Ultron, you know, he has them with him. Um, I think one thing about Iron Man in this one though that I think people will appreciate is that he's a little bit more serious and he's a little bit more mature. He kind of seems like he's in this movie he's listening more to what everyone has to say and he appreciates input. So that's real cool. Okay, let's get to Thor. Um Outside of Captain America, I think he might have been the second best character. And I've already seen some people disagree with me on that and not like it, but I might be a little biased. I actually put Thor's solo movie, his first movie, that's like in my top five in terms of comic book movies. Like, I like the first Thor movie better than Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain America the Winter Soldier. So some people think I'm crazy, but I just like the fact that he is basically a Viking, you know, Norse god from another planet, and he can be at a party, like chilling out and hanging out and drinking and making people laugh. You know, the thing about the hammer, he has a funny reaction when everybody's trying to, you know, pull up his hammer to see if anybody's worthy to pick it up. When Captain America got it to budge a little bit, he kind of moved back like, whoa, like he wasn't expecting that. And there's another seriously funny line where Incredible Hulk was feeling kind of down because you know when he comes down as Bruce Banner, he hates the fact of all the destruction that he caused. So they were trying to get Thor to say something to kind of prep him up, and he said, He said, all of the men that you have killed, their screams can be heard from the depths of hell. And then everybody looked, and he was like, "Oh, I mean, all the bones that you broke on him, or the ligaments that you bruised." You know, he kind of corrected it, but he has such a barbarian Viking mentality. But then he always reminds himself, "Yeah, I'm on Earth. I got to do things their way," and that's just really cool to me. Um, there's a scene that some people feel was displaced, but I think that it was necessary with Thor to do something to give you kind of a throwback, a nod to Thor Ragnarok or Thor Part 3 that has to come out. And some people criticize that they did that too much, like tried to throw Easter eggs to remind people about another movie in the cinematic universe that's coming out. I really didn't get that impression. That was like probably the only obvious one to Thor. Um, And then even with the Civil War, I really didn't get a whole lot of Civil War vibes from the movie. The movie to me really seemed kind of standalone. So I like that. Okay, let's get to my boy, the Incredible Hulk, Hulk Smash. I think Mark Ruffalo is an incredible actor. If any of you ever have the chance to see a movie called The Foxcatcher, where he plays a amateur Olympic wrestling champion with Channing Tatum, like his acting is just phenomenal. So um, the biggest criticism about the Hulk and David Banner in this movie has been that yeah, um, they really do get it on um, in terms of Black Widow and Hulk. And I just now caught it. I didn't really catch it before, but they actually had sex because he was coming out of the shower and Natasha had her robe and said, "Oh, I would have joined you." And at first, I was thinking that that was kind of odd. Like, why is she saying that? I know that they want to be romantic, but now a day later, it's just now hitting me. No, they already got down. You know, Hulk was literally smashing. But I think the best thing about Hulk that people like and something that kind of stood out is when they are in South Africa and he's fighting with Tony Stark. I'm talking about they tore downtown up to the point that the only way that Iron Man could stop him was to take him to a top of a building and just smash him all the way through every floor in the building. But by the time that building is destroyed, Hulk is looking up and he's seeing some of the beautiful South African women are bleeding from rocks and bricks falling. He sees ash everywhere. He sees the soldiers, the military pointing their guns at him, and he doesn't like it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of just a real interesting pathos that he has. That he really isn't a fan of being the person who destroys stuff. He doesn't like it. So that always kind of endures you to him because he just doesn't just indiscriminately just tear everything up. Okay, so and this I apologize. I told you the only little hint Easter egg about the expanded movie universe was Thor Ragnarok when he gets into the water. But when the fighting is almost done, the Incredible Hulk um, is in a plane, and Black Widow is telling him, you know, make sure that you keep on this autopilot. Make sure you keep your microphone on, because I want to see you so we can keep communication. And Hulk just goes, he just turns it off, and then the plane is just going by itself. And I'm not sure what type of aircraft this is, but I can tell you two possibilities. The first possibility is if any of y'all have Netflix, you have to watch a movie on Netflix, a Marvel animated movie called Planet Hulk. It's a great movie. But in that movie, Iron Man sends him to outer space because he says that he's out of control and he apologizes, but it has to be done. And Hulk lands on another planet and ends up becoming the king of that planet because it's a bunch of gladiators and nobody there can defeat him. So they said before that they would not do a Planet Hulk movie, but that was definitely a nod towards Planet Hulk. The only other possibility that I can think of is that they might do something when his plane is going and he ends up meeting up with Star Lord and the Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2. I don't know that. I mean, because if there's anybody out there that could handle Thanos, Hulk might be the one. So that could be a possibility. Okay, now let's get into the Vision. So, spoiler alert again, Jarvis is the Vision. And you could kind of see it coming because Ultron was, his body gets smashed and he just put himself in the internet somewhere else. But Tony Stark's noticed that there was somebody that was keeping up with the moves that Ultron was making and blocking him from infiltrating certain websites. And at first he couldn't figure out who it was, but it ends up being Jarvis. And so, just like there was a fight between the Avengers because they didn't want Tony Stark to create Ultron, well, there wasn't a fight, but there was a disagreement with David Banner, but he did it. And then there was a fight afterwards after they learned that he created Ultron. There was literally a physical fight to stop him from creating an artificial intelligence of the Vision to counteract against Ultron. And in the process of the fight, he comes out. And it was so great to see Paul Bettany because, for 4 movies, Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Avengers Part 1, he was just a voice. But now you see him in all of his splendor. And it was even cooler that the Thor is kind of the person who Vision identifies with even more than Tony Stark. And he even emulates and kind of digitally processes a cape like Thor because you saw Thor had a cape. And then he was the one person that just picked up Thor's hammer and handed it to him. And the audience just fell out laughing when they saw that because nobody was expecting that. But he also speaks with a lot of intelligence and visually he looks so cool that of all these characters, I could really see people enthusiastically accepting a Vision movie. So yeah, you guys, if you're watching spoilers because you don't mind things being spoiled and you still haven't seen the movie, trust me, Vision is worth the price of admission. Okay. Um, now we get to Hawkeye. Hawkeye had a lot more screen time. He had a lot more funny lines, but I think the thing that touched people the most with Hawkeye is the fact that he actually had a family, and that was like a surprise slash secret to everybody that he had like this farm type of house off to itself, and the Avengers kind of stayed there for a while to kind of unwind and kind of get themselves back together. Had 2 cute little kids and a third one coming on the way, and him and his wife were kind of discussing how essentially he really doesn't fit in with the Avengers because he really doesn't have their powers. He's just a guy with a bow and arrow, like he says. So, you know, a lot of people were saying that Hawkeye was so great in this movie. To me, he was just good. It wasn't great like people said, but he got a lot more time. Like, I actually think that as Jason Bourne, I think he's better doing that than he is Hawkeye. But that's just me. Now let's get to Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch was outstanding. The Eastern European accent didn't bother me. Like I said, she was the best villain. And then when she turned on Ultron, when she realized what Ultron was really about, because Ultron revealed that I'm not just trying to destroy the Avengers, I'm trying to destroy all these humans. And she turned on him with that. But initially, she was kind of scared to really be an Avenger. And I will give Hawkeye props because Hawkeye gave her a pep talk that was almost like a coach. and he basically let her know you have far more abilities than I could ever dream of having. You know, with your magical powers, your ability to manipulate minds. I'm just a guy with a bow and arrow, and I go out there and do my job. And he kind of went back on the battlefield and kind of told her, if you stay here and don't fight, that's cool. That's up to you. He said, but if you come out that door, you're an Avenger. And it was so cold that when she came out pushing the doors and just shh, 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 like she was mad, like she got fired up by that speech that Hawkeye gave her. And yeah, I just think overall, along with the Hulk, if you're gonna go against Thanos, you're gonna need somebody like her that can do some, more than just throw a shield or throw a hammer. You know what I mean? So she was outstanding. I was impressed. To be honest with you, coming off of Godzilla, where they were husband and wife, kind of from husband and wife to brother and sister. What's going on, Marvel? But on Godzilla, she really wasn't that interesting, and I didn't really think her acting was that good. But here, she was outstanding. So finally, we get to the biggest spoiler. Quicksilver. He was awesome. He was probably even a little bit better than the Quicksilver from Days of Future Past. But he is the one who died. He is the one who caught the bullet. And I'm not sure anybody was really expecting that. I know I wasn't. But it was so ironic that Hawkeye kind of didn't like Quicksilver, and he's the one that he protected. As Hawkeye was trying to defend the little boy from the hell of bullets, Quicksilver's going by super fast, and you just see all the bullets just all in him, and then he just falls. And my theory on why he was willing to die is that I think after you've done Kick Ass 1, the sequel Kick Ass 2 that didn't do so hot, Godzilla, and now Avengers Age of Ultron, I think that Aaron Taylor Johnson wanted to just try something different. Like just not to be stuck in the comic book character actor mode. So that's my personal opinion. But the theater was let down. You heard girls in the audience, oh, you know what I'm saying? Because towards the end of the movie, he became a real likable character. Um, Especially he has a like just all out funny scene where he kind of ran into this shield, operation or somewhere and was telling, "Hey, everybody, we got incoming coming in, blah 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 blah," and everybody just kept typing and nobody responded, and he left. Then he came back with a machine gun. Bah, 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 bah. He's like, "Hey, get up off your ass and do what I told you to do." And then he went back out. So he became real likable. So it's a shame that we won't see him again in future movies. But hopefully, let's keep it there because this whole thing about killing somebody and then pop off, like on the Agents of Shield and Nick Fury, just popping up and they're not dead anymore. That's getting kind of played out. So yeah, so that was a big spoiler. And the only other thing that I can say about this movie is that for all of the people that were saying um, that they didn't like the story and that they didn't like the plot, it's like, man, it was a more mature movie, and I think they did a great job. Like I might have said in my previous review, I don't think it was better than Avengers, but the Avengers is way up here, and they made a pretty good effort of trying their best to make it. And when you think about how many different stories that they interwove with each other, um, and how many laughs and how many jokes you get out of it, it's an excellent movie. I can't see any of the other superhero movies this year topping it. And I would definitely say that Batman versus Superman, you got some competition next year if you expect to make a better movie than this one. All right, this is your boy Track Lace. I'm out of here. Thanks for staying with me for 25 whole minutes. And if you stay with me for 25 minutes, there's no reason at all that you shouldn't be subscribing to me. You understand what I mean? I'm out of here.